And it says we're live. I'm just going to take a second to make sure we're live. Today's show, for all those who are interested, we are going to be talking about rights, particularly when it comes to children. I'm surprised I would have this conversation. If there's people watching that have not seen this yet, essentially what we're getting at is we confirmed life starts at conception. And I'm talking to people who are pro-choice, talking about life starting at conception. I'm going to make sure I'm centered here real quick. I'm going to get the link started. We're going to get rolling on this real quick. It's just going to take me a minute to get everything set up. Just got to make sure everything's going real quick. There we go. Anyway, let me check our YouTube end, make sure that our live stream is indeed live. Give me just 2 seconds here. It does not say we're live. Let me just double check. Work around here in the back. Sometimes the stream does not go live for whatever reason, and there it is. That's why. Private, public, and done. Now when I hit save, we should go live. Okay, welcome everybody. We are now live for sure. Just had to double check. Today's show is talking about the rights when it comes to unborn children. We're going to have a fun back and forth. We're going to talk about this topic for a little bit. I don't feel like we should spend too much time on it because I feel like it's painfully obvious, but I know that there are people out there who are going to disagree with me. So let me go and get the link copied and pasted over here in the chat for you. Okay, I just gotta just 2 seconds. Let me pin this link, pin message, and the message is pinned. Now, we're going to get into it just for a little bit. The idea of where do rights come from, I guess would be the question I would ask. Mainly because if you want to talk about do unborn children have rights, or should the mother have the right to abort, I guess the main question would be, where do rights come from? I see chats coming in. Hi, Quaker Jake. Hi, Gigi. The main problem I see is people are saying, and particularly the people who've been coming on this show, if you've been watching the last couple of episodes, is I don't care if it's 9 months or 10 months, a whole month past due, that baby has no rights. And if the mother wants to abort it, then the mother gets to abort it. And we have had a little bit of, sway back and forth on that. Some people saying, well, if you can, I forget exactly who it was, but they were like, well, if you can birth it just whenever the mother wants to, then you can try and save the baby, which is not what the pro-choice or pro-death or argument would say, as I would go down that route. Something I want to say, in the event people are listening, and they're probably not, but I wanted to hit a few bullet points. I'll even write them down so I remember. One of them is who gets to decide what is right and wrong. Okay? Right and wrong. Where do these things come from? Well, I would say that right and wrong come from strength. And this is going to sound really weird, especially coming from a Christian. I would say might does make right. But here's the thing. Being a Christian, I believe that God is the mightiest person in the universe. Therefore, God gets to decide what is right. Because the thing is, who are you going to be judged by? I believe God. Now, an atheist or someone who doesn't believe in God would disagree with me on that, and I get that, and we can talk about that in a minute on this show. But I would say, for the most part, it comes down to might makes right. Who's at the top of the food chain at the end of the day? It's God. Okay. If it wasn't God, my logic still holds up. That's the thing about logic, is logic needs to be able to hold up in several different scenarios. If God didn't exist, then who gets to decide right? It would be the next strongest being. If that was a human, then you could have a nation where the president gets to decide what's right, or the dictator decides what's right, and everybody falls in under that. And that person may decide something is right that you disagree with. But I'll tell you right now, God decides certain things are right that you disagree with. So I think that logic holds true. Might makes right. And to those who want to argue, well, I'm stronger, so I can decide what's right. Are you stronger than God? Are you stronger than God? I doubt it. See, it's not I get to decide what's right. I'm not arguing with myself. See, if I was arguing with Jeremiah's authority, I would lose because my authority sucks. But if I was arguing with God's authority, well, then God's authority is what reigns. Might makes right is the most morally bankrupt idea ever. I wouldn't say so. Again, if you heard what I thought, right, I would say right comes from God, right? Morals come from God. Why do they come from God? Because he's the strongest being on earth, well, in the universe. He got to choose. Now, we can discuss that on the show here. I got the link up if people want to join in. But the main topic of tonight, I want to make it very clear what the main topic is we are talking about the rights of the unborn. That is tonight's conversation. If we happen to veer off into might makes right, then we can go there. But I want to stick on topic, just for the record. I'm going to let in the first person. Okay, Raptor. Tonight's conversation, we're talking about the rights of an unborn individual.
We're talking about abortion again? Okay.
Yes, third night in a row.
Sure. All right. I guess we could talk about abortion again.
We did that with the queer thing. We did a couple of nights of that. Now we're doing a couple of nights of this. This is probably our last show on this topic, so we can all take a breath.
Yeah, good. It's because it's boring as hell. So the reason you want to control abortion is because you want to control women's bodies. It's very simple. I've already explained this policy to you before. I've already explained the principle behind it before. You just want to control women's bodies for the consequence of having sex with anyone that you do not approve of.
Well, I can say you're wrong. That doesn't make the argument state anything.
How am I wrong?
The topic that I'm trying to get at is rights of an unborn child, and that is why I think that abortion should be made illegal in America.
They don't have any rights.
Because, let me finish. I'm answering a question. It's not because I want to control the mothers. If there was a way to get the baby out of the womb earlier and have the baby survive, I would be happy with the mothers doing whatever they felt necessary. I'm talking about these human beings who are in the womb. These human beings have rights.
They don't have any rights. It's very simple.
Why do they not?
Because they are not their own autonomous entity.
And who decided that?
Biology decided that. They require the mother to live. It is the mother's body that is being sacrificed in these moments. The fetus, the zygote into fetus into eventual toddler does not have rights until it's its own autonomous individual.
Well, but here's my thing: is I'm saying they are their own individual. Now, they may not be fully autonomous, but there are many people who are not fully autonomous who still have rights. For example, somebody in a coma. Mm-hmm. They don't have the ability to fend for themselves, yet they have rights.
Okay. So what about the woman that was kept as an incubator? for a baby.
I'm not talking about her rights at the moment. I'm
She
talking
was in a
about
coma. What about her rights and the baby's rights? You know what happened to that baby?
What do you mean?
Do you know what happened to that child that was kept in the body of a corpse because people like you? Do you know what happened to that child? Do you care what happened to that child?
I'm not exactly sure what you're referring to.
I'm talking about, I believe it's Georgia, but there was a case where a woman was brain dead. They kept her alive because she had a child in her. She was rotting with that child.
Okay, I've not heard this one, but proceed. Do you have a story to tell?
Yes. So what about her rights? She was kept specifically to be an incubator for that baby.
Well, if they're dead, then you don't have rights because you're dead.
So we should just keep them as an incubator then. So yeah, you just want to control women's bodies. Understood.
No, you just said that they're dead. Dead people don't have rights. They're dead.
Yeah,
as far as I'm aware.
They kept her body functional in order to maintain this fetus. She was brain dead.
Well, you're saying she's dead though. I don't get the point. The point is that
As in the moment that she gets unplugged, she is going to die. She is kept alive. Adriana Smith, I believe, was kept alive specifically to keep a fetus alive. And not even living, not even living, just functionally an incubator for this fetus.
That's not even what I'm arguing though.
That is what you're arguing.
I'm arguing kids that have rights.
Yeah, you're arguing that this kid that died, by the way, after being born from a fucking corpse, has more rights than a woman does.
You said the woman was dead.
She was brain dead.
I'm talking about the kids. Can we talk on the subject, or am I going to have to move on to the next person who will be willing
to talk? Let's talk about the kids. So what happens after the kid's born?
Okay, so let's talk about a normal situation. I don't want to hear about 0.00001%.
Yeah, you don't want to hear about actual stories. I understand. Go ahead.
Yeah, the one story here or there. Okay, I get that there are tough decisions to make. I'm talking about the 99% of abortions. Okay, I'm talking about those.
Okay, so we talked about this too. Why did the mother get the abortion?
What on earth are you saying?
Why we talked about that before too. Why did the woman get the abortion? What is the overwhelming majority of?
I'm not talking about that. We're talking about the rights of a child. If you veer away again, I'm going to have to leave and go to somebody else.
Okay, let's talk about the child. Let's talk about the child.
Okay, that child is alive, right?
After it's born, yes.
Before it's born, science has confirmed that life starts at conception. We talked last week. People said
a zygote at conception.
New life starts at conception, is what some of the people said just last week on the show. Okay. Now they wanted to argue that it had no rights, and we got that. That was what tonight's show is about. But what I'm saying is, it is life. Okay. We all agree that it is alive, whatever it is.
I have a question for you, real quick.
You didn't even answer mine.
Well, no, it's going to be a part of this. So what I'm gonna ask you a quick question. So, is this one of this? Is that a human fetus?
Does it have human DNA?
Is it a human fetus?
Is that a rendering or is that a real thing?
That's a real thing. Is it a human fetus?
If it is, which I cannot tell off of this image, you'd be looking at something that is really early on in development.
Yeah, that's usually not long after a zygote is formed. Yeah. So is it a human fetus? Is it a human? Is it alive?
I can't verify at this stage. You'd have to look at the DNA.
Okay, so then it's not alive then, is it?
That has nothing to do with it.
I'm glad that you have to hedge your bets because that was a dolphin fetus. So the reason I'm showing this is to show the one very insane difference between these two fetuses here. Or not difference, excuse me, the very similarity between these fetuses here. Two, this is not a human. This is not alive. It is alive in the sense that a tumor is alive. And three, the morality of this is between the mother and her doctor. Not you, not God. Between the mother and her doctor and her situation.
You can make claims all you want, but here's the thing. You just differentiated between human and dolphin. Okay, you said this is a human fetus and this is a dolphin fetus.
Yes,
You
I
did
showed you
differentiate.
the developmental program
I was
of a
quiet
human
for you.
fetus and a dolphin.
Quiet for me, okay? There is a difference, okay? And that's why I said very early on, okay,
Mhm,
during the zygote stage where you have just a couple of cells and it is
mhm,
rapidly growing, not even a trained eye can really tell you what it is, okay?
mhm.
And that's why I was saying, no, not off of that image can I tell you what it is. Because at a certain point, yeah, they do all look generally the same. They're a couple cells. But if you look at the DNA, you find it's human. Then you look
Yeah.
and at it, you say, is it alive? It's a living human.
In the
Therefore,
same way that cancer or tumor is living, yes.
no, because cancer is not a full human. Okay.
Neither the
It
tumor,
is
neither is
messed
that.
up with a cell. That is
Neither is a
not.
fetus.
If I cut off a hair, I don't say this hair is a human. I say this hair has some human DNA in it, but it's not alive. Okay. What I'm getting at is we already discussed this last week, even.
Mhm,
It is alive, and the DNA is human.
mhm.
Therefore, human life, therefore, and this is what we're getting at this week, rights. And you
Yes,
say it
cells
doesn't
are
have.
alive. Yes, cells are alive. It's the same way that a tumor is alive or that cancer is alive.
That is incorrect.
So
They have
if
special
we were to
organs.
remove the fetus, would it be able to live autonomously?
I could remove a homeless person out of a city and they
That's
couldn't.
not the same thing. Would a fetus would if you remove a fetus from the woman, would it be able to live?
Let me ask you this. If I
Answer my question.
I'm answering a question with a question. If I
Okay.
took somebody to the hospital who had brain
Mhm,
activity,
mhm.
okay, but I unplug them and they're going to die if I unplug them, did that
Oh, so we're
person have.
talking about the 0.001% of cases again?
No, I'm talking about something that happens often. My
Mm,
mother is a nurse in the ICU. She has to deal with this on a fairly regular basis.
mhm.
People
I'm
who
sure.
um, cannot survive on their own, who are being stayed alive, kept alive by machinery. And at a certain point, they have to debate: do I pull the plug or not? And a
Mhm.
whole legal thing goes down in the rights and everything else.
That's
And
handled by the family, right? Not the hot. That's handled by the family and the doctor.
Oftentimes it comes down to, yes, the doctor and are they alive?
It is
What
handled
are
by
the
the doctor
chances?
and the family.
It comes down to the family at times, yes, but it comes down to the science as well. For an example, when they become brain dead, their body's still running, but their brain isn't, right? And so
Yeah,
they say,
as the example
well,
I brought in earlier.
they're no longer alive. My point, though, is there are several times in life where somebody is alive but can't maintain their bodily function and they need assistance. To
Mhm.
simply say that somebody does not have life because they have a lack of the ability of bodily autonomy is not a legitimate argument. It's just
So
not.
that is completely different than what I was saying.
You said, does the baby have its
Does
own
the
autonomy?
fetus it does no, I asked the fetus, can the fetus survive on its own? That's what I asked.
Yeah, its own autonomy. It's surviving on its own.
Can it survive on its own?
No, it can't. The
Okay.
same way that somebody in a coma can't.
Okay, that's again, different situation though, isn't it? What's the difference between the 2? Do you know?
I mean, yes, there's several differences, but I'm saying there's
Mhm,
several
so they're not
similarities.
it's not analogous at all, actually. If there are several massive differences, it's not analogous. That's why I'm saying, "Hey, it's similar to cancer or a tumor
It's
at that
not though.
stage."
It's
It
not though.
literally is.
It has way too much design in it. It is working around
So
the
does
clock.
cancer and a tumor.
Cancers and tumors don't have special organs in the host
They literally
to
can.
help it along. They
That
don't.
why they grow on organs. Yes, they can.
No. I'm saying they grow on organs, but I'm saying I
Yes,
don't
so
have a special.
they utilize
Listen,
the
I
organ.
don't have a special organ that helps tumors grow. I don't have an organ designed to help a tumor grow. That's what I'm getting at. It is completely different, and to say otherwise is asinine.
So again, it's just women are designed to have children. Is that
Yes,
what you're
they
saying?
are.
That is okay. Just
What is
confirming
the
that
womb
again,
for?
that is about control the bodies of women. There we
That's not
go.
control. That
That
is
is literally
biology.
yeah,
What is the
that is
womb
no, that
for?
wanting to just have them be basic or boiled down to just controlling or just being
I'm not boiling them
designed.
down,
What you
Trav.
just
I'm
did.
simply saying
You
it's a
just
feature
did.
of their
You
body.
just did. You just boiled them down to just having children.
No, I did not.
Okay.
I said that their body has been designed for this feature. Just like my car has AC in it. It is not an AC machine, it's a car, but it has AC in it. My car is designed
that is such
for
a
me to
terrible
easily remove a
analogy,
tire and
dog.
put another tire on. It
There
is
you go with
not.
that terrible analogy.
You're interrupting me again, okay? I don't tolerate disrespect. Okay. Look, I did not boil women down to simply one part of their anatomy, okay? To call my car a radio would be dumb. But my car has been designed to make music. That's not what it is. It's not an instrument, but it's designed to make music. A woman is designed to be able to run, designed to be able to digest food. The body's designed to do a whole bunch of things, designed to think, come up with brilliant things. Also designed to make children. We are talking about babies in the womb, preborn babies, having rights. Please, let's stay on that topic. I'm going to let the next person in. Dave. Howdy, Dave.
All right.
Our topic tonight is babies who are not born yet having rights. Some people would disagree.
Rights are shit that we grant to people.
What are you saying?
Rights are things that we grant to people. It's a legalistic term.
So, see, that's where I disagree. I would say rights are granted by God, not by people.
Yeah, well, so convince me of God then.
Well, we can get to that. I would love to get to that. But
well, you're gonna if that's the base of your argument, you're gonna have to do that first, buddy.
Well, let's define what a right is first. A right and a privilege are two different things. Okay?
Yeah,
a right. Let me finish. The Constitution.
Fuck the Constitution. The world exists outside of the US, you fucking idiot.
And I'm going to have to remove you for being stupid. Okay, look. The Constitution says that we have rights, unalienable rights. You can't take them away. Okay? We have rights. And by the Constitution, all right, as an article that, can be wrong potentially, states that those rights are unalienable. These rights cannot be taken away, that we have these rights regardless of nationality, that we have these rights. Okay? I say that we have rights from God. Now, if he was able to keep us cool, we could have gone into that argument. And hopefully another person may be reasonable enough for us to have that conversation. But if you're going to poop your pants every 2 seconds with the crap that comes out of your mouth, then I'm sorry, I have a channel to moderate. I can't have you on here. Sorry. Hopefully later we'll be able to get some more reasonable people on here. We're trying to say babies that aren't born yet are human beings, therefore have rights. If you disagree, I'd like to hear your reason why in a calm, stated manner. Okay. Hello. Hello, are you there? Testing, testing. 1, 2, 3. I can't hear you. I can't see you. I'm going to have to boot you if you can't say anything. Sorry. Iron Gullet. Hi, Iron.
Oh, okay. You skip last it. Cool. All right. So what is what argument are you trying to make with this conversation?
The direct goal of tonight's show is talking about babies who are not born yet having rights.
Okay. So what all of us are going to basically agree with is saying that women have more rights than the fetus inside them. That is just what we believe.
Okay.
Like, you're being emotional because it's a baby. when it's not a baby. But like you just think emotionally that it's going to be a baby one day, so it upsets you.
Actually, surprisingly enough, I'm not really emotional today. I'm not riled
I'm not
up
talking
and-
about crying. I'm just saying your arguments come from emotion.
Well, no, that's my point, though, is I'm saying I'm not having any type of emotion, especially right now.
But the emotions are what caused you to come to this consensus. Not
I mean,
fact
you
or
can
logic, just
believe that.
emotion.
You can believe that, but I
Well,
actually
'cause it
have
is.
logical reasons to why I would disagree.
Okay,
And if you're
explain
just going to
logically
say
why you don't want women to have full rights, or anybody that can have a baby to have full rights. For
I'm
their
sorry,
own-
what is your statement?
Okay, explain to me why anybody who is pregnant does not deserve the full rights of doing whatever they want with their body.
That's not my argument.
It is your argument, just blatantly it is.
It's not, though.
Okay, explain to me how it's not.
Okay. So I believe that women have the right over their own anatomy. Okay. I believe that if there's something going on, let's say about cancer, right? Because a lot of people like to bring up cancer. If there is a cancer, and when I say cancer, I'm not saying baby for those who want to say that they're one and the same or whatever.
No one said that, but okay.
I'm just being very clear for the audience. I had somebody else referring to cancer and how they're very similar. So I just want to be very clear.
They're both organic things that grow in your body, but that's about it.
If there's an organic thing growing in your body that is not a baby, right? And I'm going to use their language too, not a fetus or any of that stuff. Yeah, you should have the total right to be able to remove that. And you should have the ability to get informed consent and medical aid, and you should have all of those rights over yourself, right? People should not necessarily in those areas be able to tell you what you should or shouldn't be able to do with yourself, right? I agree with that. My only thing is, I would say babies have rights too. You can't impose on somebody else's rights simply because you did something. Therefore, if you decided to roll the dice and start a life, you have to see it out. Just like in many things in life, you have to see them out, good or bad. I bought a motorcycle. If I want to sell the thing one day, it is registered to me. I'm going to have to abide by the government rules to sell it. Well, I should say, well, I have the right to do whatever I want with it. In America, you have to abide by the law and you have to pay taxes and you have to do everything else. I love having my motorcycle. It's a good thing. Still have to deal with the consequences of my actions. Same thing with bad things, right? For those who believe that babies are a bad thing, which I disagree.
No one says babies are blatantly a bad thing.
Well, I'm saying like there's
You're
there's
just putting words in everybody's mouth, Jeremiah.
I'm simply saying that some people say that. I did not say that you said it. I did not say anybody on this channel.
Well, I'll bring it
said
up.
I said some people, and there are people out there.
Why bring
who
it
have
up?
that opinion. I'm sorry.
Why bring it up then?
Well, if you'd let me finish, you'd be able to see why.
Okay, go ahead.
I am simply stating on the flip side, when something's bad, right? Let's say I was speeding, right? And I got a ticket for that. I would still have to deal with my consequences. I would still have to go to court. And if I didn't go to court, I would still have problems. We get to decide what we do. We generally speaking, don't get to decide the consequence or the fruit thereof. So my point is, whether you consider having a baby good or bad, I covered both examples. The baby is the fruit or the consequence of the action. You have the right over the action. You do not have rights over other people's bodies normally. That's what I'm getting at. A baby is somebody else's body. It is a new life.
So if you think of a fetus as a person, you say that person inside the womb has more rights than the woman, is what you're arguing.
I did not say more. I'm simply saying equal.
By the virtue of you saying that that somebody has to keep a baby in their body, you're giving that fetus more rights than a woman or a person who can get pregnant. Let's keep it woke.
I'm simply saying equal. If you have two
well, it's
people
not equal.
tied at the hip, if
you can think it's equal, it's not.
If you have two people tied at the hip, right, and they're equal rights, and there's going to be severe complications of separating them, then you have to consider all parties at hand. That is all I'm saying. Nobody considers the baby's situation.
Do they want to be separated?
One party may want to, but if the other party doesn't, I imagine babies don't want to be separated before their appropriate time.
Well, babies don't have the concept of reality or anything. But
let me put it like this. So a baby's born, right? General idea. Baby's born. Mother's taking care of the baby. Mother says, I don't want this anymore, and leaves them on the street, right? There's no reason why I should have to take care of this child for another 18 years. What would the government do? The government would say, no, you have an obligation.
Ideally, they would take them and put them in foster care.
Yes, but also there's legal ramifications. They would
but you can also give up your kids for adoption.
Yes, but what I'm pointing out is if the parent negligently managed the child to the point where the child would potentially die, the parent gets thrown in jail. Well, the parent should be able to do whatever they wanted, right? Why do they have to take care of this child? That's my point. The child
take care of the child.
has rights. Even if the parent has rights, which I'm agreeing, mothers have rights, the child has rights too.
I simply just disagree that having sex needs to be something that has a huge punishment if you mess up once.
I didn't
what
choose
you're advocating for.
I didn't choose it. That's what I'm getting at. I didn't choose it. That's biology.
So if me accidentally coming raw is just going to ruin my life because I have to raise a kid for the next 18 years I don't want, do you think that kid's going to turn out well if he's born to two parents who don't want him?
I'm not saying it will or won't. What I'm saying is that we have consequences. If I go drinking,
but you don't want to think about the
drive
reality.
a motorcycle, right? And I, end up ruining my life, or I got motorcycles on the mind because I just bought one. But let's say I drive a car or whatever, right?
Lovely.
If I go drinking, then I drive a car, right? So I made the active decision to do something that could be dangerous. And then I end up killing somebody for it. The rest of my life gets ruined. I have to go in jail for however long. So that's my point. There are rights to other people, not just yourself.
Okay,
Kids have rights.
It's not a kid.
It is. It is a new life.
It just simply is not, Jeremiah.
So the word fetus goes back to small human.
I understand that Latin is a language. I know. It's just a thing we made up. all language, it's just a thing we made up. I know.
Just like the word zygote and fetus and all this stuff. If we remove all the words, if we remove them all, if we remove my side, the things that prove me right, and we move the things that prove you right, so we just have this bare science, no fancy words. What you have is a being who is not you. They have separate DNA. They have their own heart, their own lungs, their own everything.
Not for a while, but sure.
Let's just say a couple of weeks in, just for clarity of argument.
Well, they don't have organs a couple of weeks in.
A couple of weeks in, particularly about which set of weeks you're talking about, sure.
Okay, but by that you're saying that like it's like a week in and not dozens of weeks. There's a big difference. They don't have a heart like a week in.
About 8 to 10 weeks, you have a lot of organs.
That's still not compelling, but
let's say for argument 10 weeks. Okay, not viable outside the womb. However, you have organs, and you are a separate being according to DNA, according to everything. You are your own being at that point. We already established from the previous week. Life starts, new life. I forget who said that, but they specifically wanted to add new life. So new life starts at conception. So this new life, which is human DNA and your DNA, okay, is alive and it's human, therefore human rights. That's what I'm getting at.
Yes, but again, that's just not how this works. You want to argue about it in like a philosophical sense when we're arguing it from a reality sense.
You're arguing it from what is currently legal in America, and which those laws.
Jeremiah, I've never talked about laws one time talking to you about this.
You mentioned things that agree with the laws that currently are.
Like what?
For example, babies who are not born not having rights. That's simply something that is.
That's not a law. That's just an opinion. So, here's what it really comes down to again.
Right now, that unborn babies before a certain amount of weeks old don't have rights. Therefore, they feel free to kill them.
Okay, whatever. But point being, what do you plan to do with all the kids? If, say, you got your wish, an abortion, nobody could ever get an abortion again. What is your goal to deal with the kids that are unwanted by their parents?
That is a completely different topic. I'm talking about kids having rights.
Okay, then I'll argue you're a Christian, and that means you don't think kids have rights. They need to submit to their parents.
Yes,
so
but
you want them to have rights in the womb, but not outside the womb, is what I'm hearing.
I don't know where you got that from.
You're a Christian.
Okay.
You believe in a hierarchy that children must listen to their parents.
Yeah, and parents are to take care of and love their kids. The Bible has tons of verses defending the rights of kids. To not, let me see if I can think of a few at
Children
the moment.
parents don't bring your
to not
children to
cause your
anger.
kids to despair. It says, yeah, like to not even cause your kids to despair, that you're supposed to love them. There's several Bibles about taking
No one
care of
follows that though.
there's several verses about not hurting kids, and if you do offend one of these little ones, it'd be better that a millstone was tied around your neck. The Bible's very clear about taking care of
The
children.
Bible says it, but Christians do not practice it.
I'm not talking about what other people have done. People are faulty.
Christians.
I'm talking about you
No,
just
I'm
said
talking about Christians.
Yeah, you said I'm a Christian. Well, what do Christians do? They try to follow the Bible. So you
They
said
abuse their
try to
children
follow
at a
the
higher
Bible.
clip than anyone else.
I'm sorry, what?
They abuse their children at a higher clip than any other group in America.
I'm not talking about that right now. See, you're trying to attack me personally. I'm talking about children.
Jeremiah,
having
I
rights.
never said you beat your kids. I never said that. Why are you getting defensive about it?
I'm not being defensive. I'm trying to stay
You
on
literally
topic.
you said, well, why are you insulting me when you're talking about a whole group?
Didn't say insult. I don't feel insulted.
I know.
Look, I'm saying you're trying to attack the religion that I subscribe to.
Well, of course, because it's just fundamentally incorrect.
And I'm saying
And you're using that to spread bad ideas. You're using that to spread bad ideas to take rights away from people who can have kids.
I'm trying to talk about kids having rights.
Yeah, and that's
and I'm trying to
because
talk
you're
about
emotional.
the Bible. You're particularly talking about humans who
because
failed.
your arguments come from the Bible, correct?
Yes, I believe.
Then I get
that
to use the Bible to criticize you, correct? Since that's your basis of your
You're
fundamental
not using
basis.
the Bible. You're
What?
using the faultiness of other humans, which I agree with you. Humans suck.
So we should never use the Bible for anything since it was written by people? That's what you're arguing right now.
No.
Oh, okay.
God
Yeah, okay, yeah. It doesn't apply to you. It applies to everybody else. Okay. That's fine.
You know, if you want to put words in my mouth, I can leave and go to the next person. I'm trying
Jeremiah,
to.
oh my God, do not tempt me.
Don't tempt you to what?
Just continue with your thought.
Okay, I'm going to give us one more chance because I really want to have this conversation with you.
You don't seem to want to. Continue with your thought. What is the point?
My point that I've been trying to get to this entire time is kids have rights.
And I
It's not about
fundamentally
the mother.
think that you don't believe that.
Let me finish. It's not about the mother having rights. Okay, she does. I'm not trying to take them away from her. I'm not
Yes,
trying
you
to add more to her. It's not that discussion. Okay, it is simply kids have rights that need to be taken into account.
Jeremiah, if you're too ignorant to understand that what you're advocating for takes rights away from people who can have kids, then I can't help you. You're just ignorant of how things work. Because, and I'm guessing because you've grown up sheltered and you're like 22. You just don't understand how the world works, and you're going to kick me. I understand.
Are you done?
Oh, so you're going to shut down now that I've called you out? Okay.
No, I'm trying to
Yes,
go
and
on
I-
with the next statement, and you're like trying to demonize me when I've not done anything.
Why are you feel so attacked? You're like every Christian, I swear. Victim complex.
Okay. Well, we're not getting anywhere with him. I was trying to get somewhere with him. He just kept refusing. Please, somebody. I'm talking about kids having rights before the womb. Anybody on that topic. Okay? Just seems like nobody can get there. Gonna let in the next person. Sorry, can't pronounce your username. Are you there?
Oh yeah, you just want to control women. That's it. Peace.
I didn't even boot him. He just said, you're trying to control women. How many times do I have to say I'm not trying to control women? I'm just trying to advocate that kids have rights. Anybody want to address that? Everybody's trying to fear from that. Everybody's trying to run from that. Guys, kids have rights. Can anybody address that? Not Dave. I wonder who that is. I'm going to admit him, and I'm going to hover over the boot button. Please try to have a normal conversation with me. And if you're in the queue and you've been waiting, then please be patient. I'm going through the list. First come, first serve kind of thing. Not Dave. How are you?
Hello, old friend. Lovely to speak to you. I've got a little bit of a question. You keep insisting that everybody's being disrespectful just when they accidentally use language that you're not comfortable with. And I'm really curious how you then let that Dustin cretin onto the stream when he's blatantly disrespectful to everybody else that comes on, and in fact indulges in far more like, terms of service violating sort of behavior that would put your stream at risk. It just seems like you're a bit of a dumb cunt,
First, I'm personally comfortable with the language. I don't use it, but my personal vocabulary choices versus what I hear on a regular basis are different. But when coming to a show, I do have different standards for the show's case. And I do let a certain amount of language through with other people, for example, what you just said. Third,
What
I've had
did
to
I just say?
I'm not going to repeat it, but I mean, you can look back.
Sorry,
if you wanna,
you're going to have to let me know if there's something that I said that you're not comfortable with. You're going to have to let me know what to avoid saying.
Okay. We'll work.
Yeah, there might be cultural differences that we're not fully understanding here.
If you let me finish with my third point, I've had to boot Dustin too.
Please don't say boot. Listen, to say boot is very, very offensive to me on a cultural level. I'm sure you've seen the Simpsons episode about Australia. Why would you use such a blatant insult against me like this? Are you just trying to offend me?
I don't know what's going on in Australia.
You don't know what's going on in your own fucking head, mate. You don't know what's going on in the world around you, to be honest. But keep going. I'll let you go.
Third statement, and then I'm going to have to remove you, is I've had to remove Dustin as well. Words. Okay. He can self-reflect on what he thinks is wrong. I think he was just getting upset with the word boot. It's been around like this forever. No, I actually don't know exactly everything that's going in Australia at the moment. I've been focusing mainly on the UK. So sorry. Not really focused on what happened in Australia, y'all. Somebody will have to refresh me on that later, not this show though. Okay. I'm trying here. I'm trying.
Hello.
How are we doing today?
I am good. Hopefully, this is going to be a bit more of on topic from the previous conversations. Just to make sure I understand, that basically, just to make sure I got the conversation right, it's about child's rights. Is that correct?
Particularly referring to unborn children, but yes.
Perfect. All right. So, well, the good news is, like I mentioned last time, I got a little bit of education on this. So, children have some rights in the womb, okay, but they don't have full rights. The reason for that is there's usually 4 different things to decide whether or not something has rights in the law, right? And the first one, which is not applicable here, it is applicable for animal rights, but it's property status. So the first thing that would knock you out of having rights is if you're property, right? Which obviously doesn't apply here. The second thing is lack of capacity for duty. And basically what capacity for duty is whether or not an individual is able to understand or fulfill moral or legal obligations, okay? The third one is going to be lack of apathy, or sorry, that's agency. Sorry, I had to write this down to make sure I was being accurate. So it's agency, and it's specifically if they're able to participate in a rational societal contract. Easy example is that going to the grocery store and being able to buy something, right? So that's that one. And then the last one, number 4, is sentient recognition, right? So it's being able or capable of feeling and understanding pain and emotions. Under the law, these are the 4 things to decide whether or not personhood can be granted. And so before we can even get into the rights of children, that is the foundation that we decide whether or not something has personhood, and then what rights does someone have? Do they have full rights, partial rights? Does any of that make sense? Do you have any questions about that before I move on, or?
I fully understand, but I do want to make a couple of remarks first.
Yeah,
which is privileges are granted by the government. In my opinion, rights, true rights, are granted by God. So I would like to touch on that a little bit later, but let's stick on this topic for now.
Sure. And so we can actually touch on this now because this was actually my next step. But I wanted to make sure that we at least had the foundation down about what is used. Okay, perfect. So
I
the
do
reason,
want to approach these 4 points that you made and
okay,
see if by law, like how many of these do you have to hit to have rights in America, in your opinion? Like, is there a
so
situation where like, is it 1? Is it 2? Is it 3? How many do you need to have?
so again, the property status, we're throwing that one out for this conversation, doesn't apply. The other three, however, it is dependent upon how many rights you get, dependent upon how much you can fulfill all of these items, right? And so, like the capacity for duty, understanding moral legal obligations, children, born children, I know we're talking about unborn children, but children in general have some rights but don't have full rights, right? One of the things that specifically for capacity for duty, because children have the lack of capacity for duty, should a child engage in any sort of um, contractual law before the age of 18, when you reach the age of 18, the child has the right, because they are now an adult and they now have capacity for duty, they have the right to fully null whatever contract that is. So if, let's say they bought a car, right? And if they bought that car before they were 18, they turned 18, if they didn't have like a parent or a co-signer on there, the child would have the rights to get rid of that contract because they didn't have the capacity for duty. Do you kind of
Yeah.
understand? It's not a hard and fast. It is more of these are how we measure to determine what level of capacity or autonomy someone has, and then how do we react to that? Because as you
Yeah.
know as well, children have special protections that adults don't have. I know we're going to get there eventually, but so sometimes it's not that they have less rights, it's that they have more rights because as a society, we have determined that they are necessary to give them more protections.
Yeah, and I just definitely say, like, people are constantly trying to say that I'm trying to take away somebody's rights, or that like I'm trying to say that kids have more rights. I'm simply saying they have rights. I'm not saying they have the same rights. I am very aware that like kids, when I was a kid, right, when I was 17, I wasn't able to get a bank account because that would have been a contract. I wasn't able to buy my own phone and put it on a plan because that would have been a contract. Technically, you're not even allowed to buy anything from Walmart, though they let you do it all the time. So all those contracts, you don't have that right. However, as a kid, you have the right in America, at least, to be taken care of. It's like a demand from whoever your guardian is to take care of you, and if they fail, they're thrown in jail. So like you have definitely a different set of rights and requirements.
Sure. And where this comes into where you're determining rights from, you're determining it from your own religion, which is fine, right? You're allowed to create rules to run your life by. The problem comes in is when we have multiple individuals who have different beliefs, right, in different religions. And like I've said before, once we start engaging and creating, because so they're different. So I just want to back up a little bit. When we're talking about rights, and this might be where you're getting some of that pushback, right? And where there might be a communication breakdown. When you're talking with secular people about rights, usually that is some level of codification, it's some level of impact on the law. It sounds more like you are talking about rules to live your life by, but not necessarily rules that have to, I'm trying to be careful with how I'm wearing this. Let me just ask you actually before doing this. Do you want these rules, these laws, and these rights and everything that you live by biblically to be codified in the US law?
So basically, are you asking me if everybody should have to live by my personal rules or something along those lines?
So if on the ballot today you had the opportunity to outlaw abortion, would you vote to outlaw abortion?
Yes. Let me be very clear. There are many rules, particularly the ones I find to be more religious, that I would not enforce. For example, marriage, I view that to be a specifically more Christian-based thing. We can have an entire show on that. I would not say you have to be married to have sex. I would say that's a Christian thing. Everybody else, you're not even saved. That's not your problem. You guys have other things. But I would say God created life. When it particularly comes to abortion, this is probably one of the only ones where I would have this law in place. I would say, I don't care who you are. God made life. God made that right for people.
And isn't it also true that the call for judgment is upon God, and anyone who passes judgment, therefore, is acting as in a godlike manner? Or an assumption that you're acting within a godlike manner?
I'm not exactly sure what you're getting at when you say godlike manner.
I am trying to get a point across, because if I say it point blank, you are going to immediately shut down. So what I'm trying to do is phrase it in a way to get your actual opinion without triggering you shutting down. Does that make sense? I'm not trying to be like shifty, or there's no way for me to do this without coming across shifty. So that's what I'm trying to explain.
Let me explain the best way I can. I can't give you a direct answer because I'm not exactly sure what you're asking. But let me put it like this. The Bible says that it is okay for people to pass judgment and discernment. The Bible talks about appointing judges and appointing kings. And there are several times when there is supposed to be an earthly judge who determines what is right and wrong. We are called to discern right from wrong. A person who can't discern right from wrong is a failure in the faith, according to the Bible. However, there is supposed to be a lack of a judgmental, oh, you're just an evil person kind of thing. Like there are specific verses where it's like, I think it's like, judge not lest ye be judged. I'm not exactly sure what the exact wording is. There are points where it's like, don't look down on somebody just to look down on them. But it's not necessarily referring to the law. When it comes to the law, Moses sets up a set of judges to enforce the law and to determine right from bad morally.
Gotcha. Okay, so that did answer it. So I'm going to drop that and move on from that, because part of that it depends on what flavor of Christian. I know that that's a complicated thing to say, but like,
I know some people are like, don't judge lest you be judged. And then other people will say, why are you judging me then? And then they get caught and they're like, oh no, we're called to discern. We're called to know good from bad. A lot of people get confused on that.
Totally get it. But the thing is though, with this is that there are two things that are an issue here. There's a secular side of this, and then there's a religious side of this, right? So the religious side of this is that God has made these rules, and these rules are for you to follow. And from my study of the Bible, you are allowed to pass judgment as you're talking about. I don't really have a better way of saying it, because I'm trying not to accuse you of blasphemy. That's what I'm trying to dance around, is not to throw that, because that's a heavy thing to say. So that's what I'm trying to get your understanding without accusing you of that, because it changes depending on religion. So basically, when you codify law, there is a punishment that goes along with it. That is past judgment. And even Paul, if I understand his letters correctly, what Paul is saying is not necessarily, and yes, we want to appoint judges and everything, but that was supposed to be, from my understanding, internally within the faith. And what's happening now, and that you are supposed to let people come to you, right? And so the issue is that you are no longer following that status, you are going a step further. And the secular thing that attaches to going to that step further is that once you start making, again, I know I've said this before, but once you start making rules about law, right, then what that does is it sets a precedent for what other people can decide. And so the issue with this is that because you're picking and choosing which laws in the Bible to transfer them over to the society, you are creating a foundation that allows religious thought that doesn't agree with yours to be used as foundation for law as well. And so I get that, and I totally hear where you can talk about the Bible and the rights with the Bible and everything, but when you said that you would vote against abortion, we have crossed the line from your religious beliefs into the secular world and the secular realm. And then that is why you're having issues having this conversation, is because once you step into the secular realm, you're no longer playing the game, or you're no longer abiding just by your religious rules. You're having to apply to rules to multiple people that believe multiple different things. And the only reason that it would be okay, and I am not accusing you of this, but the only reason you would want to put religious laws in place like that is to force other people to follow your religious beliefs. And you could correct me if I'm wrong, but I'm pretty sure from my understanding of Paul's letters and the Bible and everything, that you are not supposed to force anybody into submission. It is something that they're supposed to seek out on their own. So not only are you going beyond Paul's letters and beyond the words of Paul, but you are also opening the door legally for, let's say, Muslim, Islam, what Zoroastrianism, Buddha, whatever it is. You're opening the door to have them have laws to force you to follow their religious beliefs, because it is just as important to them as this is to you. Do
Okay.
you understand why that? And again, we can talk about the religiously and life and all these
I'm
other
going to
things.
interject at some point to
I've
catch up.
talked it. Yeah, you're good. You're good. I've said a lot. Go
I've
ahead.
tried to give you that moment, but I do have to catch up before I forget it all.
You're good.
Let's just start in reverse order. First, we do have a constitution in America. I'm not exactly sure where you're from, but
The
the
US.
Constitution directly goes against Sharia law and other things like that. So as far as legally speaking, as far as Muslims are concerned, we're pretty safe from that as long as we stick to the Constitution, which that's a whole nother conversation. I hope we stick to the
Okay. Well, because
Constitution.
that's a separate conversation, I'm going to go ahead and let that go because I have words to say, but that's okay.
What I am saying, though, is like, regardless of my beliefs, there's certain beliefs that no matter how hard I try to press, the government's firm foundation wouldn't allow it. Just like there are certain things that we just wouldn't allow because we have the certain structure that we do, whether it be Muslim beliefs or Christian beliefs. What I'm getting at, though, is you say, well, we're not supposed to enforce any of our beliefs on other people. There's different sets of beliefs. There's Christian to Christian, and then there's Christian just being people in the world. There are several beliefs, laws, let's just label them laws in the Bible, where Jesus dies and now Gentiles are wanting to become saved Christians. And they talk amongst themselves. Do we make them follow our, Jewish laws? And they came to a conclusion. They said, no, we can't make them stick to all those laws. There are some laws where that's not the case. However, there are other examples, specifically in the Old Testament, I can think of many of them, where the Bible says those people are wicked people, utterly destroy them, aka punishment to unbelievers. Now, should we do it in the exact way they did it? No, different times cause for different reactions. However, the principle still stays true. There are certain things that God will punish unbelievers for, where he will stop the unbeliever from doing it. One of them oftentimes is certain cases rape. God will be like, you stay over there, you guys do your thing. And then like the moment they try to like rape somebody, there's been several times, not all the time, where he'll utterly just, stop that situation. Another one is, and again, this is not my personal opinion, right? This is just what the Bible says. There are sometimes when he'll state the sins of a city or a country, and he'll be like, they're, giving in men towards men and women towards women in unnatural ways, aka,
Gomorrah
and he's like, we're going to strike down the entire city. Now, again, different reactions for different times. I'm not telling you what my personal opinion is. I'm simply saying there are times when the Bible says, armor up, we got to go and carry out a duty against these people, and they're not saved. Again, as I said, marriage, there's not a single time in the Bible where God says, those people aren't married, get them. However, there are other times where he's like, these people are utterly evil. They are doing X, Y, Z, and he'll name them off. Get those people. One of those is sacrificing of babies and all of these other things where he's like, they're killing their own. They're murderous. They're extremely violent. And he'll be like, stop them. So as I said, there are certain things where God says these are rules and guidelines for Christians to have a better life. And then there's other things that are, now this is called being a human being, and don't step past this. If I had to relate it into like modern terms, I'd say, okay, my children, and I have 2 little kids and we have tons of rules. I'd be like, hey, don't touch the DVD player because I'm afraid of them breaking it. I say, don't touch that. If you do, there'll be a consequence. You'll be put in timeout or whatever we do, right? I'll be like, there's a consequence. Don't try and play Rough House with the DVD player because for whatever reason, that's an issue we have in our household. And I'm picking a simple one. That's a rule I have for my kids. If somebody else in my family comes over and they have a 2-year-old and they play with the DVD player, I might stop them from playing with the DVD player because I still care about my device, but it's not a rule and there's no unnatural consequence for that. I'm just like, hey, stop. It's kind of that principle. I have rules for my family and my kids that other people, especially if they're outside my home, I don't give a crap. However, there's other rules. For example, if somebody tried to come in and if somebody tried to kill another person on my property, for example, I would be all about that. I would stop that however I could, calling the police, self-defense of, the person who couldn't defend themselves. I don't care who you are. You can lie to each other on my property. I don't care, right? If somebody came up my driveway and they lied to somebody else on my driveway, I'd be like, what are you guys doing on my property? Not why are you lying to each other? But if they tried to kill each other on my property, I'd be like, I'm going to stop that. It's not a religious thing at that point. It is just a basic human thing at that point. And that's why I'm saying there's sure my beliefs, but then there's also rules that, yeah, God technically put in place because again, earlier in the video, I said might makes right. God being the mightiest person, he gets to make the rules. He gets to pick the consequences and then we have to follow through with them. If he says nobody kill each other, right? That's not necessarily my personal religious belief. That's the boss said so. And if the boss says, go punish this group of people because they're killing each other, then that's what the boss said. Now, thankfully, in today's society, God doesn't tell anybody to go mass murdering other groups of people. He doesn't. So old times are old times, new times are new times. God treats things different in the new times, but it's still safe. And I know I'm talking a little bit. I'll wrap it up. It's still safe to say there are certain things that a nation shouldn't do. And politically, God encourages people to go into politics oftentimes. That's what David did. King David was brought into politics under God's supervision. We are supposed to do good in the world. I'll leave it at that. I don't want to talk too much. I want to give you maybe one last discussion point if you want to bring it up, and then we'll talk about that for a second. And then I got a list of people here waiting.
Oh, you're good. I know you get hit every time you go on. I was taking notes too, so you're good. It just brings us back to that. I totally hear you and I'm with you. But the issue is that when you start making these, like I said before, you said that one of the things you said is that we have things in place to not allow other religions to come in. And that is not true. We've seen that. And I can even point it out right now that we actually had a mosque in Oklahoma that was denied being built. So around the US, just being built, by the way, just completely denied just having a place for them to worship. And so it's you're saying that this stuff isn't happening, but it's not right to restrict other people's beliefs. And what you're doing when you're talking about this in the law is that you're talking about codifying religious law, which is against the First Amendment. And the other thing is we're still talking about this, but do you remember last time when I talked about there are different strategies that we can do to not only reduce abortion, but to get kids born and everything? And what you're focusing on is creating a way for people to come in and destroy your religion. And you're opening that door up instead of trying to actually stop abortions from happening. And again, from my understanding of the Bible, you're talking about, taking action to stop things. But isn't it going to be more prudent if God provides a way for you to stop things without punishing or forcing others, or if there is sorry, I lost my thought. You're
I
good.
just want to very clearly state, I am not suggesting that we punish or force others.
When you said that you would vote for abortion, that is what you said that you would do.
Well, when I said I'd vote to abolish abortion,
Yes, and that is forcing others into decisions.
I mean, just as much as stopping murder already being a law is. I mean, yes, people are forced in a minor way, but
not minor. It's a hard stop. Just as an example of why and I know you. Just as an example, when I was managing, please, no, please, because I have there's a consequence to this that I want you to understand. Okay, there was when I was when I was a manager, what ended up happening is one of the people I was over, her family had a miscarriage. Okay, they had a miscarriage, and they wanted the child. It was a 3rd trimester miscarriage. And what ended up happening, instead of support or anything else like that, the state put them into a murder investigation. I think it was 3 days after the miscarriage happened. There was no emotional support. There was nothing. Okay? They were thrown into interrogation rooms and everything else like that. And when they're supposed to be mourning the loss of their child, that is what you're voting for. And I know you're trying, and I know that what you think you're voting for is to save the lives of unborn children. But you're voting for the death of women who can't get medical care. You're voting for parents who are experiencing one of the most tragic emotional moments in their life that they ever will. Then what you're going to end up doing is you're going to throw them in interrogation rooms. And what happens if they can't afford the support and they get thrown in jail? Because they are, Jeremiah. This is what you're voting for.
Look, I'm not voting for that. Now,
you are. That's the consequences of your actions.
Let me finish.
No. These are the consequences of your actions. And I'm going to be real freaking straight with you. I've had a lot of freaking men in my life try to avoid that. So today isn't really, maybe that's something that we'll revisit at another time. But I'm telling you right now, even though that is not what you're intending to vote for.
Okay, you're losing a little. Okay, I respect you. I appreciate you. But you are losing it a little. Okay? That's not what I'm voting for. Now, there are adverse consequences to everything in life. And we can't always see what they are. Okay? For example, with ICE. And I'm not going to say where I stand on ICE. I'm just going to say it happens. There were some situations where ICE people made some mistakes. And they had to be investigated in. Now, if you support ICE, you may not support that individual mistake. You may not support that ICE agent. Okay? Simply saying that there is a better way to go, though. When you can say, when I vote for something, I vote for all the adverse consequences we have to figure out. No. I can say I am pro-life and not pro-murdering babies and say, but we should figure out the law side. Aggressively questioning a mother who is mourning a loss is not good. I'm not voting for that. Just because there are broken people at the system doesn't mean that's what I want. When people say, okay, well then what about all these extra babies? Where are they going to go? I'm saying, yeah, we need to work on that. I'm not a politician though. I'm simply talking about one topic at a time here. This one being life. So I understand you're upset about this. I get it. I'm going to let you back in the show here in a little bit. At the same time, understand that I can want something good and I can fight on the moral side of this and we can work out the details later. And there are problems with needing to make sure this is operated well. I would also say, before I let you have your closing statement, because I really want you to have that, there is, what am I trying to get at? There are adverse consequences with your side as well. And I could accuse, and I'm not going to, I don't believe this, but I'm going to state what some people might say. I could say that when you vote not to abolish, abortion, and I'm not saying you directly, I'm just saying anybody who would make that decision and vote that way, that they are voting for mothers who aren't informed correctly and then have horrible regret that they killed their baby, which that is a true situation that happens to many mothers, that you're wishing for the population to go down and you're voting for all of this black market selling of baby organs, which happens. But the thing is, you may not be voting for all those things. You might say, well, yeah, if I was some politician, I would say this, but not this, this, and this. We need to do this, but we need to make sure we do it right. I'm going to let you back in. I'm going to let you have your final say. I undid force mute. You can let yourself back in.
So here's the thing, and I don't know if you were aware that you've done this, but you do this kind of all the time. Whenever you get hit where someone is presenting you with a hard and true fact, you shut down. And the thing is, I know that you are voting to save lives, but the issue is, Jeremiah, is we've talked about the research, we've talked about data, and it's been very clear that, and I've shown that I know how to evaluate data. And there have been several times where on stream where you've just done a quick search and pulled it up without evaluating data. So I hear you, I understand your concerns, but my concern is that you are just receiving propaganda and you do not have the tools necessary to evaluate the information. So you're doing the best you can with what you have, but people are lying to you. And so I hear you, and I know why you're voting. But unfortunately, what you're voting for, the information is being hidden from you about the consequences. And I know that is not something that you want to hear. But the problem is that you keep fighting for with the best information that you know, and it's not it's not the whole picture. It's not the whole picture, and you're going to cause so much suffering and also open the door to have your religion taken away from you. And frankly, when you get on here and you say the words and everything and all of these things, you're trying to make the world a better place, but you're killing it. That's my final statement, is that you are killing the world trying to do with good intentions. And I know that's not what you want. So I really hope that you sit here and you think about all of this, and especially our past conversations, because I hear that I know that you want to have these rules to save your life and your children's souls and the souls of everyone. But at some point, you have to recognize when trying and continuing to push and fight isn't accomplishing your goals, it's working against yourself. And that's what you're doing here in this conversation. You are working against something. You're trying to end to a goal, but the actions that you're taking are not meeting that goal. It's making things worse, and it's getting things trapped. And the reason why I keep coming on here and talking with you is, honestly, it's not for you. Because I'm pretty sure that everything I'm saying, that you're tap dancing around and everything else like that, it's for the people who are listening, who might need a little bit of extra. So I'm not talking to you, I'm talking to the audience. Because
Okay.
I don't think I genuinely don't think that, I think that you appreciate the conversation. I think that you like that I stay on topic. But I'm going to be real with you. I don't think you're hearing me. I think you're trying to use me to get a message across. And if you really wanted to save the world, Jeremiah, you wouldn't be talking to people who are constantly dedicated to coming on here and trying to make a fool out of you for a quick clip. And I know you know who I'm talking about, because it's more than one. So do you want to make the world a better place, or do you want to keep doing this because this is what's online?
Okay, well, thank you for your final statement. I do have to get to other people. So
All right. Have a good night. Yep.
I find this is an interesting situation. I find with almost anybody I disagree with, we have the same passion, the same heartfelt feeling, but in the opposite understanding. For example, she thinks that I'm trying to make the world a better place, but in all reality, I'm ruining it. I think she's doing the same. And I don't say this just to get back at her. I found this to be a very interesting phenomenon that happens with a ton of people in a ton of situations. She's very heartfelt about her opinion, and I hope you can see that I'm heartfelt about mine. She's using this, she just said herself, as a way to get to the audience. I'm using this as a way to get to the audience. I understand that I'm probably not going to change her or anybody else who comes in on the show, but the audience needs to see this. To also address one of our other segments, I do a ton of research off the air. I just try to keep it fast paced for you guys here, but I heavily recommend everybody to go and look at all the evidence for yourself. I do a ton of surfing on the deep web. I find the actual video footage. I find the people who go places that you're not supposed to know about, and they record it the way it is. That's where I'm coming from with a lot of this. Okay, we'll have a couple more here. Dargesh. I don't know if I had Dargesh on yet. I don't think I did. Dargesh. Howdy, Dargesh.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. So I want to bring up a topic that we brought about last time that is directly related to this, that you laughed away, but I have the data for now.
Okay.
And that is the way to limit abortions. Do you know what that is?
The theory, or I shouldn't say theory.
It's not theory. It's hard evidence.
The concept of how to lower the numbers of abortions that happen.
There is hard data on how to lower the amount of teen pregnancies, which will directly lead to the less abortions needed.
Okay.
And it is comprehensive sex education. I have the numbers here. So this, I'm going to give you the study here because I don't want to be the only one with it. So you can look it up, and if I make anything incorrect, you can check it yourself. This comes from from the government itself, specifically the National Library of Medicine. So it is not just like some weird random one. It divides education abstinence-only level into 4 groups. 0, where it is not allowed, all the way up to 3, where it's the only thing that's allowed. And you find that down about halfway down. There's a table 4. So if you control F table 4, you can see all of the different. Well, I shouldn't say that's not the rates. Above there, would I go? I lost the spot where I was at. Let me go to the part and find that table. There we go. It is table 2. Sorry, table 2 is where the level's at, and you can see whether it's law or not, and what level. Some states it is not even in the law to have and not allowed to be done. And if you go down to results, we find out that the ones with level 0 have about a 58.7 rate of teen pregnancy. Level 3 has a 73.24 rate of teen pregnancy per 1,000 girls. Both of them are per 1,000 girls. So, which of those two things, comprehensive sex education or abstinence-only education, is going to lead to less abortions overall? Teaching them.
Yeah, you'd be claiming the information one where you have informed consent, which I don't think I ever argued directly against informing people about consequences.
No, whenever I brought it up, you laughed. You'd end up removing me, and then you were laughing about teaching kids how to put condoms on.
Well, I do think when it comes to education, there's certain things we should do and certain things we shouldn't. As I've said before, I think informed consent is one of the best things there is. The only thing that I have a thing against is oftentimes, depending on the education, I think they take it too far. I think they end up educating on things they shouldn't educate on. For example, in the chat, I had somebody say, this is how they get the whole LGBTQ thing in the schools, is they push things like this.
Well, we actually cannot talk about that stuff.
I agree with you. Well, the rules sway and teachers say differently sometimes.
No, it's very much like we can lose our license if I start standing up in front of the kids and start talking about LGBT stuff. Well, especially in Ohio.
I don't know about the rules of Ohio. I don't know about the rules of any individual state, but what I will say is there are lots of teachers that talk about how they introduce it to their kids. So I can't vouch for any personal experiences, but the teachers themselves are proclaiming it.
See, the thing we go into with what comprehensive sex education is and what it really needs. Do you know why they teach the kids how to put on a condom?
I'll let you get to that, but I do want to clarify. We're talking about rights. We're mainly talking about rights for unborn babies.
Yes, and I'm talking about ways to prevent there needing to be unborn babies that would need to be removed.
Well, I agree with you. Let's work on ways to stop doing that. But again,
would less unwanted pregnancies lead to less concern about abortions, meaning we need to worry less about the rights of the baby in the womb because the babies that are there are all wanted?
No, I disagree with that. I would say that we need to worry about the rights of the baby in the womb, regardless of how many or little there are.
What I'm saying is, if we have less unwanted pregnancies, then we have less pregnancies that are going to want to be aborted, which means that there are less concerns about the rights of the baby in there. And I'm not saying that we don't worry about them, but because there's not going to be as many that are even aborted. And if the babies that people are having because they understand about sex education are all wanted, then the abortions are basically relegated to now we think about whether it's an emergency or not is what we essentially get to. If every pregnancy is wanted, then none of the abortions that we have are going to be, I'm 10 weeks in, oh no, I just found out I'm pregnant, I can't afford this. Do you see where I'm going?
And I agree with that sentiment.
Mm-hmm.
I don't have a problem with that.
And one of the biggest areas that happens is in teen children, and from 14 to 19, because they don't understand it as much. So some of them make unwise decisions and then get pregnant. And at the age of 14 to 19, a pregnancy can absolutely change the course of your life. And so sometimes they will make the decision that I want to go down this route. I do not want to be stuck with a kid. This is what I'm going to do. So, in order to prevent this issue from happening, if we give them comprehensive education on what's happening and how to protect yourself, there's less likely to happen. Because yes, we should teach the kids you shouldn't be doing this until you're ready. I think you and I both can agree with this, that we absolutely should teach them you should probably wait till you have sex until you are ready for the consequences.
Yeah,
But
I agree with pretty
here's
much
the thing. There are going to be people that don't listen. So what comprehensive sex education does is go, okay, you should not do this. You should wait until you are old enough because these are the consequences of what can happen. Getting pregnant, all these other issues that can come along with it, STDs, STIs, all of these things. But if you do, here is how to make sure you're safe. And also, what comprehensive sex education really does is it protects children from child sex abuse. Do you know how it does that?
because it informs them on what's going on and how to
Yes,
support it.
because if we teach them you're not allowed to don't say no in all cases, then we leave it up to the parents to teach them actually about sex and sex ed. And a lot of the parents are going to be fine about it, but then the parents that want to groom their kids are going to be there like going, nah, this is actually secretly fine. All kids do this and start to groom their own kids.
So I agree with you on a lot of what you're saying, but I need
Mhm.
to stick back to the topic of tonight's show.
Okay.
So, like, I get that. I think education's good. I think that it does need to be moderated. I don't think we should be teaching them everything. There's a lot you can find out yourself or through your parents, but I will say proper information is good. So, I mean, that's a different topic though. Like, I think we agree on a
It's
lot.
really not.
What
It's
I'm
really
talking
still part of the topic.
What I'm talking about though tonight,
hmm
separating it from all the other strings, I get it, it's all tangled up together, is kids have rights. Unborn babies are humans, they have rights.
Okay. I
You-
would
you agree with that?
personally put, as I've said before, I would personally put the rights of the mother before the rights of the unborn. Now, if the child is able to survive outside of the womb, if we could get the child out and fine, that's okay. That's different. But if the child is unable to survive outside of the womb, ultimately there is really the woman's choice matters more. That's my stance on it.
I like your approach more than some of the other people's. I
Mhm.
will admit that. I think that's just where we disagree. Is I would say kind of like how the other person mentioned. It's not that they have equal rights; it's that they have different rights. And in my opinion, it would be really hard to say who gets to choose what.
Mm, in my opinion, once again, the rights of someone who's currently alive is more important than that which has yet been born.
They're still alive though.
Kind of, but not exactly. It's different. They are not self-sufficient. They are still reliant upon their host. So a parasite is technically a bit more appropriate due to how they survive. Because at that point in time, the child is only drawing nutrients from the mother and not providing anything in response. It is not like it's symbiotic where like the bird that cleans the crocodile's teeth, where the crocodile gets a teeth cleaning and the bird gets food. That's where you've got a symbiotic relationship. It's a parasitic where and I'm not saying, oh, children are all parasites type of thing there. I'm just saying that technically it falls under that. The child only takes nutrients from the mother and does not provide.
So what about a person in a coma though? They can't provide on themselves, or somebody who's heavily reliant on machinery.
Okay.
They're
But
not relying on themselves. Do they lose their rights just because
so
they're not self-sufficient?
question. Are they reliant upon a person to give them that, or a machine to give them that? Like, does a person have to be hooked up to that machine for the entire time, giving that person nutrients?
I'm not
Or
talking about the parents' rights.
No,
I'm just saying babies have rights.
hold on, I'm going directly to what you're saying. So a person hooked up to a machine, are machines sentient? Are machines actually living?
It
No.
takes a host of people to run those machines. It's
Hold
not
on.
a machine.
But hold on. Those people, are they stuck to that machine? Like, are they attached to the machine during the entire time this person's in a coma? Or is it their job where they come in, take care of it, and then go somewhere else and live their own life still? Are they attached to this person, stuck in this room the entire time they're in a coma?
Inconvenience does not remove rights.
What I'm saying is, but is that the case? So if you said, did you say your mom was a nurse, or was that someone else that said that?
My mother is a nurse, yes.
Okay, my mom is too. When she worked at the ICU, she was not stuck in any time that they brought a new person in. It wasn't all of a sudden a brand new nurse gets assigned to them and is stuck there for the entire time that person's in the ICU. They have a round to do. They go and visit different rooms and take care of them, but they are not. But their body is not required. Another nurse could take over. This is different than a child still inside of a womb being hooked up to a machine. If the machine is a living sentient thing that could do its own stuff but is now forced to be here, that would be analogous. The machine being run by people is not the same. Do you see how they're not the same?
I feel like you're ignoring my statement though, which is none of this matters according to the topic of the show, which is
But you
babies
brought
have
it up. But you brought this up, saying that do they lose their rights? And I'm trying to show you
You're
how it's
taking the
analogous.
analogy too far though, which is
I'm
the
not, though.
idea. The
I'm
idea that they have rights regardless of the inconvenience.
Jeremiah, I'm drawing it from what you are saying. Does the person in a coma, you're asking why don't they lose rights, is what you were saying. Does the machine they're attached to, is it living and have its own rights?
So
Yes or no?
saying,
Hold on. Okay. Saying what?
You're saying that it is the level of convenience that protects your
No.
rights.
No.
That a machine is not inconvenienced, that the people are not inconvenienced.
No.
They're not forced
Jeremiah,
to.
can you listen to what I'm saying? You're misunderstanding my argument. When you are in a coma and you're attached to the machine is the only thing keeping you alive, right? It's the machine keeping you alive. Am I correct?
The machine with a host of people. Don't forget the host
The
of
host
people.
of people, but the host of people are not directly attached to the machine. The machine is what's doing all of the heavy lifting. The nurse will put on the new bag or check your vitals, but the nurse is not sitting there pushing the saline into your body. They're not pumping the heart that the machine would do. They're not forcing the breath in now. It's the machine doing it, correct?
For the most part, yes. I
Okay.
don't want to overlook the people who also have to be there and attentive and like
Okay.
watch the monitors
But
and make sure everything works.
the reason why the people aren't relevant here is those people are not stuck in the room for the entirety of the time you're in a coma. Different people take over, they leave, they go to their life. They are not inconvenienced whatsoever. The machine is the only one that's really stuck with you. Now, let's bring this back to the other topic. The child inside of a womb. Is the person that the child is attached to, are they alive?
The person the child attached to, yes.
Yes. Are they required to provide nutrients 24/7 to this child?
Yes.
Then it is not the same as a machine keeping a coma person alive. This is where your analogy breaks down. A person who is already born attached to a machine is not the same as a child inside of a person who is providing the nutrients to keep them alive. That is
And
completely
what
different.
is the difference What is the difference that negates the right?
The child, well, the fetus is not yet born. You have a child that's born would have rights, but when it's inside the womb, the mother, who is the one forced to do all of the work keeping this baby alive, is the one that should have the priority in all circumstances there.
Yeah, but you're saying that something negates the child's rights, and so you're saying it's the inconvenience.
No, what I'm saying is that because the mother is the one that is required to do all the work, the mother is the only one that should have the say. It's the mother is already alive. The child at that point is simply a parasite.
Yeah,
As people have brought up
that's
before.
called inconvenience. If there was
Question
a
for
group of people who could take turns, that would be convenient. The only difference is inconvenience.
My question for you that's related to this. Does a tapeworm have a right to your body?
Tapeworm's not human. No, doesn't have
But-
human.
But hold on. So what's the difference then? They're both
Human.
living. Why do humans have rights that tapeworms don't?
Because God made us in his image. He didn't make tapeworms in his image.
So you claim. But again, I do not see evidence of a deity existing. So I don't see any of that argument to be compelling of, oh, God made this versus this.
Let me put it like this. I'm going to move on to the next person. We'll
Okay.
let you have a finishing statement. I'll make my finishing statement. You can make your finishing statement right after mine, so you can, that way you have the chance to say what you need to say. If
Mhm.
rights are made by man, that's a privilege, really. It's not even a right, because man can take it away. In my opinion, rights are made by God, and I would say that is the key defining difference. Therefore, man should not be able to take them away. That's my ending statement. Dargesh, if you want to make your ending statement.
So the problem with that statement is that the way I view rights and everything should be a case of harm. What's best for society, what's best for individuals. I should not, like, me stealing from someone, is stealing always bad? That's a good question, Jeremiah. Is stealing always bad?
Always bad. Generally speaking, however, the Bible has one exception, and that is
Okay.
if you're hungry and you need food.
But the thing is then, is that is where you're showing that any rule, if you just say that this is bad, has exceptions. Is murder bad?
Yes.
Okay.
And there's no exception to that. It just says, thou shalt not murder.
Okay. Well, technically, if I remember, it says thou shalt not kill. Are you aware, by the way, that that the 10 Commandments that are typically used is actually only the first set, and the second set doesn't actually say anything the same?
The second set of 10 Commandments?
Yes.
Or the second 5 commandments?
If you read when the first set are smashed and he goes back, read what the new set are. There are things like you shall not boil a goat in its mother's milk and a bunch of other weird stuff that have nothing to do
that's
with
not the 10 Commandments. That's other laws that were made. There's like over 316 laws in the Old Testament.
The first 10 Commandments, whenever he gets it back, it says what the 10 Commandments are on the new set, and they are not the same.
That is incorrect.
Not from what I've read. I've actually gone through and read those.
I've read those commandments. I'm very familiar with what they are. You're correct that there is a commandment, thou shalt not boil a goat in its mother's milk, milk, or was it blood? And either way, I remember that commandment. It's just not the 10 Commandments.
It was the ones that it specified as. I'll double check again, but that's what I was remember reading in it. Is that those were the first 10 in that set, and those were the ones that are classified as the 10 in the second set of them.
Okay, well, I got to move on to the next person. Thank you for clearing. Right. You said last week. That's great. Gotta go. Wish this remove button was quicker to find. Okay. Okay. So the next person on is a very controversial figure. I'm gonna have to ask him a couple questions. A lot of people have accused this person, and I believe it's her father, of some shady things. I've not been able to get to the research yet, so I'm going to ask them a couple questions in self-defense, and then we can potentially move on. So give me a break. I'm not supporting them. I'm not encouraging them, but I do want to talk to them. So please chill out, and we're going to let this person into the room. Howdy.
Sorry, I was listening to the lobby music. Hello.
Okay. Before we start, I have a couple of questions. Everybody in my chat, and I've had people email me as well, says that there's like horrendous stuff going on between you and your father, and I don't want to make this inappropriate, but like, have you heard of all of that? Have you heard the haters?
Yes. Of course. Yeah.
you
I'm
have
a
a
streamer
self-
myself. We're both streamers. Yeah. People say all
you-
kinds of shit.
Yeah, I've seen some of your stuff. Do you have a self-defense towards these accusations? Just generally
I
speaking.
mean, you know, it's just gossip.
Yeah, like they say that you're like, I think they say your dad is like some kind of sex offender and like other things. Like
No, I mean that none of that stuff is true.
no, that's true. There's no like legal, like I can't Google it and find anything like that.
No, he has a totally
Okay.
clean criminal record. He's been arrested a couple times, but all the charges have been dropped. So
Okay, so as far as I know, there's nothing morally going wrong. Okay, I still haven't done my own research, but with that said, I'm going to continue with good faith.
nothing
And,
immoral going on. Is that what you said?
Huh?
I just didn't hear you. Are you saying there's? Did you say there's nothing immoral going on?
They made a lot of accusations. I'm sure you've already heard of all of them. I don't
Yes,
even want
I
to
have.
mention them all. Good grief! But anyway,
It's kind of a meme at this point, but whatever. Some
okay.
people are cool about it. Some people aren't. Whatever.
Today's show is geared towards the idea of babies having rights. What's your stance on that?
Yes. I am pro-life, so I agree with you.
Okay.
But I have a criticism of your attitude towards these pro-choice people that you've had. Come on. I was doing a little research on you and I found a short that you posted of you with this like older guy that you were streaming with, and you were talking about rebuking people and how rebuking people is necessary and a wise man loves
Reproof.
what was the word? Yeah. Yeah, or correction. Mhm. And I just feel that you are taking an approach towards them that I don't quite understand, because these are people who you and I would agree with are essentially advocating for murdering children, right?
Yeah, in my
At the end
opinion,
of the day,
my
that's
opinion,
what
I
they're
try to
doing.
be respectful to them. I see them as evil oftentimes.
Yeah.
To keep
Like,
it
I
simple.
mean, that is objectively what they are advocating for. They can cope for it however they want, but they are at the end of the day advocating for killing babies. This is just the objective truth. They can say they're terminating whatever. And what I'm not sure I understand is, see, if somebody came on this stream and said, I believe that women should have the right to terminate their children's lives up to the age of 3 years old, I think you would say, like, what the fuck is wrong with you? Like, you would not have a rational discussion about that. You would say, you're totally crazy and sick. What are you talking about? You're going to murder toddlers, right? But because they come on and they say, I think women should have the right to terminate unborn fetuses' lives, for some reason, you and many other people engage in like sort of like rationalistic, logical, calm conversations with them. And by doing so, you are kind of implying that you too think that that fetus's life is less important than a toddler's life. Because if they suggested the same practice towards a toddler, you would say that's disgusting and you wouldn't hold back and you wouldn't have a enlightenment, rational conversation with them, and you wouldn't treat them like they're like a rational person to be argued with. You would just say you're totally crazy. So why not take that attitude towards these people? Because by our own logic, as pro-life people, they are advocating for the same thing. It's just a younger person, right?
Okay, so I advise you to watch, I think it was 2 weeks ago, my show. I do actually lose it. And I have to just cut one of the conversations because I have more emotion. I think it's funny. Some people say, I need to have less emotion. Other people are like, you need to have more emotion.
Yeah.
I can't win them all.
I know it's tough. Yeah.
I generally try to remove my emotion when trying to talk reason. And I get that they don't always have that. I have actually brought it up as equal. I've said, well, what about outside the womb? I don't know how to compute to you. Yes, I see it just as bad.
I believe you do. I believe you do. Yeah.
I have watched like unedited footage from like, you know, not the dark web, but like the deep web. So like I've seen the unedited footage from the deep web where you could just watch an actual abortion, and I ended up going into a state of trauma, like where I had like this like weird PTSD attack, and like
I
I've
believe you.
seen that I cannot fathom this. Actually, I had to skip a week because I got in depression from talking to these people because I couldn't handle the way they thought about it. I
Mhm.
do my best to keep my cool on stream because I realize that I'm talking to people who just can't
Mhm.
fathom it. And if I just lose it, they'll just be like somebody losing it the way I see them half the time. And so I do my
Yeah.
best to try to keep it calm. And I honestly believe that if somebody suggested, you know, a 3-year-old, which I did argue that once with somebody, not on the air,
Yeah.
I would try to come with the same amount of reason and the same amount of logic, because an over amount of emotion in an argument doesn't prove your point.
I disagree. I mean, I understand where you're coming from, and I
It
understand
can,
that.
depending on the person, but not
Yeah.
always.
I just think that righteous anger, especially when these people feel they have the right. I mean, I'm not really like coming at you hard. I'm just saying like I think it's an interesting question because I have also had these debates and stuff, and usually these people are, generally speaking, assholes. Generally speaking, I would say their affect is I'm better than you, I know more than you.
By the way, we try to keep the language at a minimum.
Oh, sorry.
Can't-
Sorry, I have a foul mouth, I'm sorry. Um, and they come at it with a lot of emotion, and
Oh,
they
they do.
feel justified in what they're doing. And I'm not sure why, as Christians, some people say, like, you should always take the high road with that when, like, righteous anger would be the correct response to someone advocating for killing kids. It is the right response. Like, you know, that's valid. You don't have, like, why say I'm turning my emotions off? Because it's just too painful to think about? Like,
The way I could put it, and yeah, you could say part of it's taking the higher road, being the bigger person. But what I would also say is, well, before I get to that, Jesus made a whip and flipped tables. I
Yeah.
remind people of that when they try to paint Jesus as a soft goody two shoes. I'm like, you're talking
Yeah.
about the guy who made a whip and started flipping tables because people were being cheated of money. You're talking about
True.
the guy who said it'd be better that these people get a millstone wrapped around their neck and were dragged to the depths of the sea. Like,
Yeah.
you got to remember who you're talking about. What I will
True.
say though is, when I think about emotions, and I used to be very emotionally cut off. I used to try to not have any emotions at all in my childhood, and I didn't see the point of them. I tried to be kind of like psychopathic at a certain point. And I've learned over the years emotions can be good. The
Mm.
way I see it now is, what benefit would emotions have in this point? And there are times when I have allowed myself to be angry, and I have allowed that. There was one time somebody was picking on my wife,
Mhm.
and I kind of got him to back off at the moment. My wife left the room. I grabbed him by the scruff of their shirt, got him like an inch away from my face, and I said, "You ever talk to her again, I'll kill you." And I pushed. And my
Yeah.
wife saw him in the room. It's like, okay, I know he has me from this point on. And then he never talked to me again. So like emotion, anger, fury can be good. And in a sense of
Sure.
self-defense, I want to be very clear because I just spewed it all over the internet. He was being aggressive. It was a statement of self-defense. Thankfully, nothing ever came from it. But at the same point, like, emotion can be good. My only thing with this is, when dealing with this exact situation, being as emotional as them isn't going to solve anything. They're not going to change their mind. As somebody else said, we normally have these conversations because the audience, there might be somebody in the audience who would change their mind or would listen to this.
Mm.
So when I'm talking to them, I'm not showing them the high road because I genuinely think they're going to change. I would probably
I
show
believe you.
emotion. I would probably show more emotion if I wanted them to change. I would show how much I care. But with the audience,
You know, you're saying you're not really invested personally with this person you're talking
Yeah,
to.
with
You
the
don't believe they're going to change.
with the audience though, they come onto these shows to try to hear rational people talk out things so that they can do it for themselves. When I'm talking to an individual, I treat it very different. One thing that I remember, and I tell everybody this, and I've actually gotten people to change their entire attitude in a heartbeat. Again, not on camera where your ego is on display. But when people's ego's not on display, they're way more malleable. You can talk to them a lot more, casually. Something that works a lot is just remember, people do not care unless they see how much you care. If you care and
That's
you
my
show
point,
them,
actually.
and you're gonna be the bigger man, not in the oh look, I'm perfect, but in the bigger man as in shed a tear and be like, this is how much I care. Then they are way more likely to change. Again, off camera. On camera, I tried that. They don't like it. They don't want it.
Yeah,
The person
but
arguing
that's
doesn't
my point. They don't like it because these people, I'm not judging them per se, but they are advocating for evil and they don't like it when somebody says what you're doing is disgusting. They don't like it. Of course they don't. Like, but that's, and I also think you're like a really smart guy and I like your content. I just think that, it's your show or whatever. I just think that you should lean into them not liking, like, why should someone advocating for abortion feel comfortable?
Do you know how
Why?
many times they've told me, "Oh, this topic's so boring. Why are you going into that part of this topic?" And I'm like, "It's my show. If you don't like it, leave." Like,
Yeah,
but
I know. Yeah.
it has been really funny. I think last week we were talking about when does life start. I wanted them to answer it. When does life start? And I just walked through their logic, and every single person wanted to drag the topic away from the point, or they'd say it's so boring. You should move on to something else. And in the chat, it was all just like spamming. I'm so bored. I'm so bored. And I'm like, well, you guys are here. And then I got them to admit, several different people, new life, that's the way they like to say it, new life starts at conception. And so now I'm getting on here and I'm choosing another topic. They're like, oh, good grief with the abortion again. And I'm like, okay, so if it starts at conception, if new life starts at conception, and it's human DNA, and it's not your DNA, so it's a different human who is alive.
Yeah.
Human rights? And everybody's like, oh, the conversation again. How dare you? And I'm like, I'm just walking out.
I mean, yeah, it's basic stuff. Yeah, no, I completely agree with you. Actually, I'll tell you, that guy, Raptor Blue, you had him on, I think a week ago or something. I don't know if
he was
like,
on earlier today.
Oh, okay. So I found his Twitch stream. I was gonna come on, but there were too many people in front of me, and I was like, whatever, maybe some other time. And I found his Twitch stream, and I wanted to have a debate with him about abortion, and because he kept talking about it as controlling women's bodies. And I was going to try to make this point to him, like, we don't generally talk about laws as controlling people's bodies because that's extremely emotional language, and every law controls people's bodies to a certain extent. Some control men's bodies, some control women's bodies.
That's controlling people against murdering other people.
Yeah, but he's like, why does it all of a sudden have to be controlling women's bodies, feeding into some sort of like oppression fetish when it comes to abortion, when every law, especially when it comes to murder and death and life and those kind of things, are controlling people's bodies essentially. And so I got into it with him, and he made this point like, oh, murder is something that's legal, so it's not murder because it's legal to have an abortion, whatever, right? All this usual stuff. And then I go to him, because he's black, I say, well, do you know that black women get the highest rates of abortions in this country? You guys make up 13% of the population, and yet 33% of black women have had an abortion. That is a recipe for literally you to wipe yourselves out. And it's also true of whites in America, but like, that's not good. Like, your kids, your people are being wiped out by this. And there's a reason.
Gen Z is gone.
Sorry?
A third of Gen Z, one of every 3 Gen Zers that are supposed to be here aren't here because of abortion.
True. That's my generation. Yeah. And so I was just kind of trying to make this argument to him, and he just flies off the handle and goes, "You're racist." And I was like, "What are you talking about?" He's like, "Oh, so you're saying all black women get abortions?" I was like, "No, I'm saying abortion has been sold to poor people, but like, let's be honest, black people, there's a reason Planned Parenthoods are in the ghetto as like a liberation." But in reality, you guys are killing yourselves. Like, how can you advocate for this? The current statistics show that you guys will wipe yourselves out. I want more black people in the world, not less. And this hits you guys the hardest. And anyways, he went off and called me a racist and everything. And I was like, how is it racist to advocate for more black people to be in the world? I can't quite understand that. But I just don't think these people are reasonable. I don't think they're like locked into reality. I don't know what to say. I don't think it's worth. I don't know. I guess you've already come to that conclusion. You're not going to change their minds.
I I really try to be patient, but sometimes it's hard. I have to move on to the next person. As much as I like people agreeing with me, Saturdays for people who don't agree with me.
No,
So,
I understand. But my last thing I'll say is that I think your content could do better if you brought a little more heat and try not to be so stoic. I would like to see that. I don't know if other people
be
would. But
stoic and then punch the screen. Like,
yeah. And I would like to see you make these people feel uncomfortable for what they're advocating for. Genuinely. But that's just
I appreciate that. I appreciate it. I'll think about that. I genuinely will. But
Yeah.
I do have to go on to the next person.
no problem. Nice to meet you. Bye-bye.
I have oh, it's 9:15. Let's do this till 9:30. It's 15 more minutes. I have a life outside of this. I have church tomorrow, then I have work in the coming days. I need sleep. So I hate to leave people in the chat, but we're just gonna have to keep going. Socks is always a good brain blender, and I mean that in the best way possible. It makes me really think. Socks.
Hold on. Hey, can you hear me?
Yes.
Hey.
Today's topic. Oh, come on. You got your title all messed up. Can you fix that?
What?
The whole effing N-word and, all of that whatnot. Can you change that?
I don't know if I can. I don't know how that got there. Hold on.
You know exactly how
Well, yeah, I probably put it in there, but I didn't know it would show on the screen.
Yeah, well, it totally does.
Oh, but I gotta leave the page. Hey, so I don't want to be here long. So first of all, what do you ride? You said you got a motorcycle. What do you ride?
I just bought a Honda Shadow, 1999, perfect condition.
Nice.
It is
All right.
beautiful bike.
All right. That's it. See ya.
I gotta kick you, yeah. Okay. Yeah, I'd show pictures and everything, but I mean, it's just over there. Maybe Sunday night, I'll introduce to everybody on the stream. I personally really like it. It's a beautiful bike. Let me see. Placidy, let's admit you real quick. You tried earlier. You've been waiting a long time.
Hey,
Can
you hear me?
Yeah, I wanted to let you on. We're closing down the stream here in a little bit, but I saw you wanted to get in earlier, so I'd give you a chance.
You skipped me a couple times, but I'll let it fly.
I swear I didn't do it on purpose if I have.
Anyways, so I didn't really hear you at the beginning of the stream, and I just wanted to make sure, like, I was really getting you right here. Are you on the might makes right train?
So I'll say one thing first, and I'll answer your question. First, we're talking mainly about babies before being born having rights. Going down that rabbit hole, I was talking about what's morally correct. And I said that the way I see what is right is, and a lot of people disagree with this, might makes right. But I had to be clear. I said, who gets to decide the rules? The strongest person. Well, in my belief, God is the strongest person. Therefore, we all come accountable to him. Therefore, God gets to decide what is right and wrong.
Okay. Yes. So we're clear on that. That's fine. And I can accept that. That's good. So God gets to decide what is right, is your frame here. Right?
Yeah. God gets to decide what is right because he is the ultimate power of the universe.
So am I allowed to take issue with that without you saying, no, we're not talking about it?
I do feel like that might be for another show because we're mainly trying to get at.
It's about the kids. It's about the kids.
Then I'll let it go so we can get back to the whole kids thing. Yeah.
Okay. So now, I don't remember the specific terminology or whatnot. So ultimately the question I have is, God makes all of the decisions. He makes what's right. Why would God make it right for a child, if you so want to call it that, in the womb, sick?
So being the most powerful being or being the person of authority doesn't mean that everything all the time does exactly what you want it to. Now, God could if he wanted to, but for example, I have authority over my household. My wife.
No. Wait.
Let me finish.
No, it breaks down.
Yeah, let me finish so then you can break it down. Okay, you gotta
go ahead.
my wife has given me authority in our household. That's the way we do it. Okay, everybody does it their own way. I make the rule of the household. Now, here's the thing. I have told my wife not to do certain things. Now, she sometimes decides to do certain things. Anyways, now, oftentimes these are small. I'm not talking about anything crazy or big. I could say, hey, I said no, right? And we could go down that route. Instead, I say, you know what my desire was. You know, if you wanted to submit under me, then you would have done that. I do this oftentimes with my kids as well. Again, it's all about the circumstance and it's all about the thing that we've chosen. But there are times when I'll tell my kids not to do things and I will let them have natural consequences. I'll say, hey, don't jump on the couch. And I won't punish him for it. I'll just let him fall over. And then he'll cry and then I'll hug him and be like, that's why I said don't fall on the couch. Like, don't jump on the couch. So oftentimes God, being the ultimate authority, having the ability to change the outcome, doesn't. It's not that he wanted it. It's not that he chose it. He allowed it.
So you are okay, and I'm just within the framing of how you've made this conversation, you are okay with a God that is outside of your control, who has already determined since the beginning of time that you were going to suffer. Let's be clear there, because he is all-knowing, he is all-seeing, and he has all control. He is omniscient. There is nothing outside his control, and he knows everything immediately. You are okay with the concept of a God being perfectly fine with harming his own creations.
It's not him harming it, and also,
yes, it is.
Not like I have a choice.
It's
not
already
like
predetermined. He already decided that you were going to be harmed.
You asked a question. I'm simply stating it's not like if I said I'm not okay that he would disappear. Okay?
No.
If I said I'm not okay with God, it's not this God disappears. So
no.
my point is,
he's always there.
If you let me finish. Okay, I like your point, but you gotta let me do this. Okay, I'm gonna force it just so we can enforce this real quick. My point is, there are things I disagree with God with. There are things where I say, God, why do you allow this? Okay, I don't like all of the stuff God has done. If I was God, I would do it differently. Just like if I was president, I would do it differently than the previous presidents. My point is, it's not my choice. Going back to the suffering part, I have allowed my kids to jump on the couch, fall off, get hurt, not die, not get mortally injured, but get hurt, get bruised, and then come to me and cry, and I'd hold them and be like, that's why I told you not to do that. God didn't make me do these things. God didn't make my parents do these things. God didn't make Adam and Eve fall in the garden. He allowed it. Just like I allow my kid to jump on the couch and learn his lesson the hard way. I will unmute you. Undo, force mute. Undo, force mute. There you go. You have to unmute yourself as well. You're not talking? Okay.
I have to unmute?
You do have to unmute as well. I can force mute you, but I can't turn on your microphone for you.
Okay. Well, fine. So you're missing the fundamental concept here. The difference between allowing and already having it predetermined.
God doesn't determine it. He just knows it's going to happen.
If he knows it's going to happen and he allows it, and you are not okay with it, as you have already said, why would you force yourself to follow this ever-loving God who is infinitely beyond everything, who could change everything and chooses not to? Why would you follow that? Because there's a follow-up point, but go ahead.
I understand that you may have a hard time with that concept, but more or less for the reasons that you stated. He is loving. he is caring, and in the future, he says himself that he will change it. That he will let this world be what it is, and then when the time is right, that we will be brought to paradise. And the whole point of why this still persists is because he is loving. He allows us to do this because he loves us, and a loving parent or a loving father would allow you to make your own mistakes. That is why. Because he first loved us, we love him back. I may not agree with everything, but I never agreed with everything my dad did.
So, and in following this, okay, so you said that your wife allows you to make all of the decisions, which I'm going to be frank with you, I don't believe, but for the framing.
Yeah, I would say generally speaking, the way we've structured our household, my wife has chosen we agreed on that I would be the leadership of the household. I still, it's not like I do it by myself. I ask for counsel all the time. I talk to her on things. I get her opinion. If she's not okay with it, then I don't attempt it half the time because I don't want to do something that would make her miserable. Like, I have her best interest at heart. But yeah, I am the leader. I make the decisions. She submits to that goal and what we have as a family.
I don't think I can actually let this one fly. Hold on. Whoa.
Please make sure that we're on the topic of child's rights being unborn. Just want to make sure.
Yeah. Okay. So in the womb, I'm going all the way back because it's kind of blowing me away. God allows the human beings in the womb to get sick.
Yes. I don't like it either.
So not even God likes that baby.
I never said God liked or disliked that baby.
God allowed that baby to get cancer, right?
Sure.
While in the womb.
Yes. This world sucks. This world is broken.
Allowed it.
God who did it.
I want to be very clear. He allowed it.
Yeah.
How can he be all loving if even the people that he holds to the specific standard of do not kill that baby, how can he turn around and then be like, no, I can kill that baby. Fuck that baby. Get out.
Look, I'll explain it. And I didn't boot him. He left himself. It is a hard concept to understand why bad stuff is allowed in this world when God claims to be so loving. But here's the thing, God is also just. A just God allows consequences. And a loving God allows us to make mistakes and to refuse him. When Adam and Eve sinned, they allowed darkness into this world. That darkness embodied itself in death, in sickness, pain, suffering, all of that. God didn't do that. The Bible says right after John 3:16, right? John 3:16, he came to save us. But then it says after that, verses 17 and 18, that he's not condemned us, that we condemned ourselves, that he is here to save us and not destroy us. We got 2 minutes on the clock. I'm going to let in King David. Howdy.
Hello.
Is this Raptor?
No. Sorry, I didn't realize that I was back on.
You sounded
I
like
thought
you
they
for
were-
a second.
yeah, no, not intentional. So there's a strange thing going. It's strange bedfellows. Christian nationalism makes strange bedfellows, doesn't it? You've got this civility thing going on. You insist on this civility where it's like you don't engage in adult talk, and because of that, you've now allowed this sort of like the same bullshit civility is being used on you to get these incestuous fucking like child molestation people. Like there's this, you're a lol cow, right? You're Christian lol cows, but now you're doing a crossover with some horror cows, and it's pretty concerning shit, you know. Like, do you know what? Yeah, do you know what's going on there? Because you were blushing and flirting and all this. You're pretty excited to have a chat with this lady and all that.
I enjoyed having somebody on who agreed for a minute. It was a breath of fresh air.
So you're happy to platform like endorsement of child molestation on your?
I didn't endorse any
stream.
of that. I said it very clear right as right.
I didn't say that you were endorsing it. I said you're platforming the endorsement of that. And this is the trouble that you get into when you just try to you use all these friendly words. Everybody has to have all this.
This is not the topic we are doing tonight. I'll let one last person on. I'm sorry if I didn't get you on the show tonight. Aiden, are you there?
Oh, hey, can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, yeah. So like the topic of today's show is like the rights of children. So I'm assuming this is because like you care about the rights of children, right?
Yes, the rights particularly of babies who are not born yet.
Yeah. So like do you feel like really comfortable taking the moral high ground hanging around with chomos like Dustin and Ben Thorpe? It's kind of gross actually. So maybe you should think about yourself. Anyways, bye.
Okay. Come on. I know you guys hate them, but like, look, I'm not supporting any of that. Chill. Okay, last person, Aaron Sanders. That one didn't count, apparently. We're going to go on to here. Aaron. Hello.
Nope. All right, I'm back. So, what's the deal?
Well, the topic is the rights of unborn children.
Oh, that's simple. They do not outweigh the rights of the person carrying them.
Okay, but do they have them? Do they
No.
have rights? So you're saying a child who's not born yet does not have any rights?
Nope.
And why? If
because they're inside of another person.
If they're living